Hillbilly Elegy by J.D. Vance. Summary and analysis by Brevreds. Hillbilly Elegy is a deeply personal memoir that brings to life the struggles, stories, and raw emotions of J.D. Vance's journey from a troubled Appalachian upbringing to becoming a successful lawyer. The book vividly paints a picture of life in the Rust Belt, illustrating the trials and tribulations of a white working-class family, and how cultural, economic, and social issues have shaped the region and its people. The main theme of the memoir revolves around overcoming adversity, breaking free from the cycle of poverty, and taking responsibility for one's own success. Vance's story is both inspiring and cautionary, as it sheds light on the challenges facing the Appalachian community, while offering a message of hope for change and self-improvement. The fierce love of Mamaw. One of the most memorable figures in the book is Vance's grandmother, Mamaw, who was both a source of love and a stern, no-nonsense disciplinarian. She was the heart and soul of the family, and her tough love approach helped shape Vance's life, despite her rough exterior. Mamaw deeply cared for Vance and did everything in her power to make sure he didn't fall victim to the same fate that had trapped so many in their community. Mamaw's home was a refuge for Vance, especially when his mother's addiction and instability made it impossible for him to stay with her. One time, Vance recalls how Mamaw gave him a get tough or die lesson when he was struggling in school. She once told him, "You can either be a sheep or a sheepdog," pushing him to take control of his life and not let his circumstances dictate his future. Mamaw had a penchant for dramatic acts to get her point across. In one particularly memorable story, when Papaw came home drunk and made a mess of things, she set his clothes on fire in the front yard to teach him a lesson. The event is both shocking and strangely funny, and it captures the intense, often violent love that existed within their family. Key takeaway: tough love can be hard to swallow, but it can also be the driving force behind resilience. Mamaw's fierce approach, while extreme, taught Vance the importance of personal accountability and toughness. The chaos of Mom's addictions. Vance's mother, Bev, plays a central role in his early life, though not always in a positive way. A nurse by profession, Bev seemed to have everything going for her at first, but her struggles with addiction, along with a series of failed relationships, created an unstable environment for Vance and his sister. There's a heartbreaking scene where Vance describes being in the car with his mother during one of her breakdowns. After losing her temper, she threatened to crash the car and kill them both. This moment is terrifying for Vance, a young boy trapped in a situation he couldn't control. The incident ends with Vance fleeing the car and running to a nearby house, desperate for safety. Vance's relationship with his mother was complicated by the fact that she wasn't always in control of her actions due to her addiction. Even when she tried to get clean, the damage had been done. Bev would often lash out in anger or fall into deep depression, leaving Vance feeling like he had to be the adult in the relationship. He recalls how she once dragged him from home to home, boyfriend to boyfriend, in a never-ending quest for stability that never came. Key takeaway: addiction doesn't just destroy the life of the person suffering from it, it affects everyone around them. Vance had to learn how to navigate the emotional landmines laid by his mother's addiction, which ultimately shaped his understanding of trauma and instability. Marine Corps, discipline and structure. One of the turning points in Vance's life came when he joined the Marine Corps after high school. After years of instability and emotional chaos, the structure and discipline of the military were a welcome change. In fact, Vance credits the Marines with teaching him the skills and mindset he needed to succeed in life. Basic training was grueling, but it instilled in him a sense of responsibility and pride that had been lacking in his life up to that point. In the Marines, Vance learned the importance of routine, discipline, and perseverance. He had to rise early, take care of his own gear, and work as part of a team. One humorous story involves Vance learning to iron his clothes properly, something he had never been taught growing up. His first attempts were disastrous, leading to wrinkled and burnt clothing, but over time, he mastered the skill, which became a metaphor for the life skills he was picking up in the Marines. One particularly defining moment in the Marines came when Vance was deployed to Iraq. His time in the war zone forced him to grow up quickly and taught him the value of leadership. When his squad was under pressure, Vance realized that people were relying on him to stay calm and collected. This experience taught him to control his emotions and focus on the task at hand, skills that would serve him well in his later career. Key takeaway: structure and discipline can be transformative. The military gave Vance a sense of purpose and the tools to succeed, which were critical in helping him break the cycle of poverty and chaos. The importance of mentors. Throughout the memoir, Vance emphasizes the critical role that mentors played in his life. Growing up in a community where many children were raised by single parents or grandparents, Vance lacked stable adult role models. However, there were key figures in his life who helped guide him along the way, including his grandparents and a few dedicated teachers. One of his most influential mentors was his high school English teacher, Mrs. Triplett, who pushed him to take school seriously. She recognized his potential and encouraged him to apply to college, despite the fact that many of his peers saw higher education as an unattainable dream. Mrs. Triplett's encouragement, along with Mama's constant push for him to do better, helped Vance begin to see a way out of the life he had always known. Another mentor came later in life during his time at Yale Law School. Professor Amy Chua, famous for her book Battle Hymn of the Tiger Mother, was a significant influence on Vance. She encouraged him to believe in his capabilities and to understand that his background, though different from many of his Ivy League peers, was not a limitation. Key takeaway: mentorship can make a significant difference in someone's life, especially for those who come from disadvantaged backgrounds. Positive role models help people see possibilities they may not have considered on their own. Yale Law School and imposter syndrome. When Vance was accepted to Yale Law School, he entered a world that was completely foreign to him. He came from a working-class background where most people didn't go to college, let alone an Ivy League institution. As a result, he struggled with imposter syndrome, the belief that he didn't really belong there and that at any moment, someone would figure out that he wasn't as smart as his classmates. One of the stories Vance tells about his time at Yale involves attending a fancy dinner party with a prestigious law firm. Having never been in such a setting, Vance had no idea how to navigate the dinner table, which was filled with silverware and glasses he didn't know how to use. In a moment of panic, he called his girlfriend, now wife, for advice on which fork to use. She helped him through it, but the incident served as a stark reminder of how out of place he felt in this world of privilege. Despite his insecurities, Vance thrived at Yale. His experiences there helped him see that his background, while different, gave him a unique perspective that many of his classmates didn't have. Over time, he learned to embrace his differences rather than be ashamed of them. Key takeaway: imposter syndrome is a common experience for many people who come from disadvantaged backgrounds. But it's important to recognize that everyone has something valuable to bring to the table. Confidence comes from embracing who you are, not from trying to fit in. The culture of honor and violence. One of the recurring themes in Vance's memoir is the culture of honor that permeates Appalachian life. Vance explains how, in his community, loyalty to family and friends was paramount, but it often came with a sense of pride and quick resort to violence when that honor was threatened. This cultural aspect shaped many of the conflicts and behaviors in Vance's life growing up. One story that illustrates this culture of honor involves a confrontation between Vance's uncle and another man who insulted the family. In response, the uncle didn't hesitate to physically confront the man, a move that was seen as necessary to defend the family's reputation. While such acts of violence were common, they also contributed to the dysfunction that plagued many families in the community. Vance also experienced this firsthand when he was bullied in school. Rather than turning the other cheek, he learned from an early age that fighting back was the only way to earn respect. This mindset, while effective in some situations, often perpetuated a cycle of violence that was difficult to break. Key takeaway: the culture of honor can create a sense of loyalty and protection, but it can also lead to destructive behaviors. Breaking free from this mindset is essential for long-term success and stability. Escaping the cycle of poverty. At the heart of Hillbilly Elegy is the question of how people can break free from the cycle of poverty and dysfunction that grips so many working-class communities. For Vance, the answer lies in a combination of personal responsibility, education, and the willingness to make difficult choices. Throughout the book, Vance emphasizes that, while systemic issues certainly play a role, individuals must take ownership of their lives if they want to succeed. Vance's story is one of personal triumph, but he acknowledges that not everyone has the same opportunities or support that he had. The Marines, his grandparents, and his mentors all played critical roles in helping him escape the fate that befell many of his peers. He points out that many people in his community are trapped by a sense of fatalism, the belief that no matter how hard they try, they will never succeed. Vance's journey is proof that it is possible to break free from the cycle of poverty, but it requires a combination of external support and internal determination. He doesn't shy away from criticizing some aspects of the culture he grew up in, particularly the tendency to blame others for personal failures. At the same time, he recognizes the deep systemic issues that make it difficult for people to escape poverty. Key takeaway: breaking the cycle of poverty requires a combination of personal responsibility and systemic change. It's not enough to simply work hard, people need support, mentorship, and opportunities to succeed. Conclusion: Hillbilly Elegy offers a raw and unflinching look at the struggles facing working-class Americans, particularly in the Appalachian region. Through personal stories and anecdotes, J.D. Vance paints a vivid picture of a world where poverty, addiction, and violence are common, but where love, loyalty, and resilience also shine through. The memoir is both a call to action and a message of hope, showing that while the challenges are immense, it is possible to overcome them. For readers, Vance's story is a reminder that success is not determined solely by where you come from, but by how you respond to the challenges you face. Whether through education, mentorship, or personal determination, there are ways to break free from even the most difficult circumstances. Thank you for completing another BrevRead video. Like and subscribe to see more of our videos. If you have a particular book that you would like us to summarize, please share it in the comments section.